All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our partner education webinar series. This is part 3 of 3, so it's the final part. This webinar is titled Deep Dive, How the ExpandIT Service Portal Works for Customers. So just a couple notes on today's session. It's going to be recorded and will be emailed to you afterwards. And if you have any questions during the presentation, you can ask them using the Q&A section you see in the webinar box. That will send us a message and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. So today's webinar is going to be presented by myself, Gary Rodriguez. I'm on the marketing and business development side of ExpandIT, and Michael Ferbata, who is in software and pre-sales, is going to be presenting the product to you. So the agenda for today, we'll just go through a quick overview about ExpandIT. I'll go through some business benefits, then I'll hand it off to Mike for the product demo. We'll then answer any questions and then conclude with our next steps. So just a little bit about ExpandIT. So ExpandIT has over 20 years of experience as a Microsoft ISV. We have a standard integration to all versions of Microsoft Dynamics. We have over 4,000 customers internationally, and we have a team of experts right in North America, and we're focused on sales, support, and service delivery. So our goal is to work with organizations who perform service and installations to help them maximize productivity and reduce their administration costs. So we're going to go over the following business benefits in today's presentation. So we're going to see how ExpandIT Service Portal helps organizations improve customer service by allowing customers to communicate easily with company staff. We will also see how it allows customers to access information at any time that's convenient for them, 24/7. The Service Portal also helps to reduce wasted time by allowing customers to access records and information without assistance from your company staff, saving time for the staff. It also allows jobs to be scheduled with full information, so technicians don't show up on a job without the right tools or information. And this, of course, is going to improve first-time fix rates. And finally, the main features that ExpandIT is going to help improve cash flow due to faster invoicing and reduced billing errors. So I'm going to now hand it over to Mike to show us the Service Portal.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to go ahead and share the portal. Okay. All right, as my screen comes up for all users, the portal is built on the ExpandIT's online, essentially an e-commerce platform. It's a platform that allows for us to take orders of any type, whether it be sales orders, service orders. Really, it's a lot like the mobile client in that we're working against documents from Nav or that will hand to Nav. So it can be utilized in a lot of different ways. And then one of the ways that we see it used most is for service. And so what I've done is I've logged into the portal and logged in as a company user. And I can see the basic information for my company. So let's talk about how the portal operates. It has some basic information, some basic user levels. So first off, it has the administrative user level. And the administrative user level is considered the person at the company itself. So as opposed to an end customer, the person who's at the company. And that administrative level has a lot of access to information to the portal. And we're going to cover that side of the usage of portal in another webinar. That side, just to kind of give some information on that, would include the ability to filter on work orders and do some just-in-time manufacturing or some engineered to order type manufacturing pieces to make sure that work orders going out with the service orders that are being planned through the portal. So the administrators can go ahead and put feed those different pieces. They can plan that quick manufacturing. They can plan service orders. They can do approvals. Everything can actually be handled through this portal, and we're going to take a look at that in another webinar. What we're going to focus on today is the customer-facing portion of the portal. And so customers also have multiple levels of users. In general, there are 2 levels, but there could be additional levels. The permissions of users are set up and configured on role-based, and it's not in conjunction with any type of ERP roles, but within roles that we've defined. So we can give or take permissions to certain functionality for different roles. Working with customers, we help define those roles, and then what they do for their end customers is they grant them the ability to have those roles available to them. So let's go ahead and look at what we have showing on the screen right now and just talk about how the site in general works. So the portal is a website that somebody can log into, and they can view some basic information. How this information is viewed is what we call templates. Templates allow us to display different types of information in different formats, and all of this is controlled through a CMS. So the content management system is in the background, also handled by that back-end administrative portal. And we'll have a future webinar on the CMS system and how to utilize it and what kind of changes can be made through it. But just understanding that there are templates with different design patterns, and we're going to take a look at a few of them as an example. One example of a template is when I first log into the portal, you'll notice I can get some basic information. The pictures, the text, the links, these are all handled through that content management system, the CMS. This is one template that could be offered to a customer. Another type of portal template, which would probably be more interesting for a customer, would be something involving some kind of informational front page. So you can see here, I could log in as a customer to my portal. I may see my service contact or my sales contact, depending on how it's set up on the left-hand panel. I might see some operating information for the company, and then I might see new orders I've created or jobs, current orders of jobs, finished orders of jobs, and then some other pieces. And we're going to get into all of this information. They can see what they can request and how it all works. But the premise is templates allow you to show different information in different ways. I'll give an example of one more template. For the service portal, you can see here, instead of trying to flood the screen with a lot of different information, it just creates large images and enables people to see this. Just like the mobile client, which we've looked at in prior webinars, the screen is a responsive design. So as it grows or shrinks, different pieces of the screen will show and hide, making this available to customers from an iPhone to an iPad to the laptop to a desktop widescreen computer. So let's talk about what a customer can do while they're in the expanded portal out of the box. The first thing they can do is they can view what we call installations or locations. And what these really are is they are the ability for the end user to view the things that you are tracking that they could have service on. Depending on your back-end ERP system, these could be objects from AX, service items from NAV. They could be anything or a product itself that you are tracking that you may have sold to them or that you know about, and now maybe you never sold it, but now you track it for service purposes. And so this gives them the ability to actually go in and find something that A, they've previously serviced, or B, that they would like to request service against if it isn't something that they've done before. We're going to take a look at that also. So I can come in and I can see those pieces, and I can click on one of those pieces. I can see some further details about these pieces, including if it has been previously serviced, if it has previous information against it. And I can see all of that information directly through this portal. And that's one of the benefits of that. All right, so I can see the items that I'm expecting installation against. I can also create a new service request. And so I can come up here to my service and say I would like to create. So there are multiple ways to create. One way to create would be to allow them to create against an existing service item. Another way to create would be to allow them to create it without a service item. So, and what I'm calling a service item here again is it's just an object that we're working against. So I may have a competitor product at my location that I would like you to service as a company. So I call you, or instead of calling you, I can come on the portal, and I don't currently have it listed in things that you would come service for me, but I could type in the details for it. So it doesn't have to be something previously serviced to continue or request service for it through the portal. And that's one of the main keys. We're cutting down those calls to the company. So I can come in, I can view some information on the service item, and I can request a service order against the service item. So at this point, I can come in, I can request some information about it. I'll have to type in an email address because I don't have one in the system. I could type in a requisition number or purchase order number if I have one. Now, some of these other fields are shown that are configurable because you may not want your person requesting service to be able to even specify these types of information. But if you remember from our webinar on the planning board, we looked at what we call departments, and it's the grouping of individuals. And you may allow your person requesting work to select the department they're in, such as West LA. You may not allow that. So in other words, this field would be completely hidden. It would be on the planner to then decide where this resides. We may allow them to select a technician. Now, by selecting a technician here, there's no guarantee that that will be the technician that is planned and assigned this order in the end. However, it certainly gives the opportunity for the person to request a specific technician, maybe one they've had before, one they've had more luck with, or one that they know has fixed it the last time, but it's having an issue again. And they could come down and they could write that out. So in general, I would say what I'm hoping that you'll do, come fix something or it. I could say maybe when I'm hoping that you'll be able to come do that. And I could type some additional notes. Now, I've gone ahead and I've added the information for it. I've gone ahead and I've added some comments. I could upload an image from here or any type of file, a PDF, a signed document, a scanning of the PO, an image of the broken piece, an image of the serial number or the model number so that the company can find that information. There are a lot of options here that help get that information back to your company to be able to service this customer's information. At that point in time, we can go ahead and hit save, and we've now created a service order. Oh, I apologize. I should have selected. I have required a department to be selected. I now have a service order created. That service order now has information, including service order jobs seen up here, job number. It has some comments, some files if I had attached them, and some basic information about it. I, as a customer, can now come in here to view this. Now, we've spoken as we've looked at the planning board and the mobile client that we have interactions from the portal through the planner all the way down to the technician and back. So as the planner and the technician enter comments specified for display on the portal, it will display here. So I, as a portal user, your end customer, have said it's been broken for weeks. The planner might be able to say, I am going to go ahead and schedule it for tomorrow, and that would show up here. The technician might be on site and say, I fixed it, you should be all set. That would show up here. So you can get the back and forth all the way from top to bottom. And there is another webinar to review the actual usage and the workflow from an order coming through the portal all the way through down and back. What we see though is we're able to review the information for what we've entered because we just created this order. We're going to go ahead and now we're going to be able to say, well, what other work orders do I have? And maybe I have more out there. So I could go and look at them. Here are some orders that I have outstanding. You can see here that I have this new order, come fix it, which we just created. However, I can also see other orders that are out there, and I can see the statuses of those orders. There's one being worked on. There's one that was recently finished. These are actually awaiting approval. So we're waiting to hear back that the work is completed and done correctly. We can see we have one that's planned, and so that it's expected to be worked on. So the order status again flows from the planning board back to here. As the planner plans it, as it is accepted, as it is being worked on or travel started, that will display through to that end customer through the portal. So what this does is it gives you the ability to, as Gary was pointing out, cut down on those calls that are being made to your office. Is there a technician assigned? When do you think that technician will be here? What's the status of this order? We're cutting down on those calls to be able to find out information. So we were able to create orders. We were able to view the basic concepts of what the orders are. We're able to click and review finished orders. And that's important because now I can come in and view the work that was done. And I can see what was done. So you can see there were some files attached to this order. So this is very important because the technician might have attached some images. This product incurred damage because of a limb fell from a tree, natural, which means the customer might have to pay instead of being covered by warranty. It's an example of one way that you might be utilizing this. And then you can present this data directly through to the customer through this portal. So I can view the orders and the information. And we talked yesterday about the on-site reporting or the compliance reporting. And some examples of compliance reporting could be OSHA reporting, maintenance requirements, legal maintenance requirements such as, say, forklift checks in warehouses. There are lots of different types of reporting information. That reporting information would also be available through on a per service order basis here. However, it's also available just through the ability to go back and look for reports. So as a customer, I can come in and look through my prior report history from people who have filled out reports and completed them and sent them back in for me to view. So I can come in here, I can see that a work summary was completed, and I can actually download and view this PDF. And this PDF happens to be empty, but it's the premise of being able to view that data. This is the one I was trying to get to, the inspection report. So I can come in, I can view what the answers were at the time, I can print this PDF, and it gives me that compliance reporting and the ability to view it at that from a portal. So what does that mean? Again, we're cutting down those calls to the company. Hey, your company came out and they inspected my shelving 3 months ago. I have an inspection coming up from OSHA. I need that paperwork. Well, instead of calling you, they're on the portal. They're viewing that compliance paperwork through here to see all of their available compliance paperwork. In fact, normally what we're seeing is there's no requirement to even have it on site in some cases, depending on the law requirements, because it can be accessed through this portal and becomes an e-record. At the minimum, companies can download the PDFs and store those for their internal records. We're also seeing that. So we are able to come in and we're able to view these reports. And that's another key portion of the ability of the customer through the portal. Another portion of functionality is the capability of viewing documents. So in general, yes, reports are considered documents, but so are images or PDFs. So these are the documents that were added separately from a report that was filled out on the mobile client. Those images, could have been the wiring diagrams, pictures, information that was added from the planner all the way down to mobile, or from the mobile all the way up and back. So you can go ahead and you can view all of these prior documents. So this is important because you may be going in and looking for something that was completed against a piece of equipment specific, which you could do and look for. You might know the work order it was done against. And you can also view a small thumbnail of most image types. So you might be able to view some basic information for, say, an image that you're looking for if you knew a part had been broken and you wanted to try to get information on that. So you're able to view those reports and those documents. Again, we're cutting down on those calls, but again, you were able to add reports, add documents, and add comments, increasing that communication from the customer all the way down to the technician directly and back. And we're cutting down on the phone calls and the time to convey that. So instead of someone calling a company to say, I've added this document as part of the service order and its instructions on how to get it in business, the document will be available to view directly to the planner. So you don't have a customer now calling a company, getting routed to a planner who has to in then turn call and give information to a technician. What you have is you have the customer on the portal entering the information, and that automatically flowing, the planner seeing it. You have it all the way flowing down to the technician able to see it as well. So we're trying to alleviate 1 to 2 to 3 levels of communications from top to bottom. All right. So we're looking at documents. So what else can a customer view? Well, again, it's role-based. So the next pieces that we're going to take a look at could be set up as separate roles, and in most cases they are. And why is that? Well, because most of the time for a customer, they want to give access to view service orders, view service statistics, view existing orders and attachments and all those pieces. They normally want to give that to anybody who can log in through their portal, because their employees want to be able to create those orders or look at details on those orders. However, not all customers want to give away maybe some financial information or some other pieces of information or be able to manage other users through here. But that is what they're capable of doing. So as an end customer, I can look at the account and I can look at some general information on this account, including ledger information. So that ledger information is going to be pulled directly from the ERP system, and it will include things such as posted invoices, credit memos, payments. It can include really any kind of ledger information that you want to show, but those are primarily the 3 that we see needed, because you want to show that there were invoices and maybe there were credit memos against those invoices or payments. You'd want to know what's open, what's not open. You'd want to be able to pay what is not open. And all of that's available through this functionality. So what you are able to see is you are able to come in and actually see some details. So you'll notice I'm able to look at this invoice. So I can go ahead and click at this invoice and see some information about it. So you can see who it was billed to, who it was shipped to, and you can see what was purchased as part of this invoice. You'll also notice I can come down and pay the invoice directly from here. Now we're going to go back to the customer ledger page and look at the payments there. So what does a payment entail? Well, for the online, the premise is it's going to pay through some type of online payment processing system. By default, the system has functionality capabilities with Authorize.net. It could be integrated to other payment processors depending on what your end customers are looking for, but that is the default for the system. So you'll also have to take into account if you're going to allow online payments and you go with the default, what the service charges from credit card companies will be. So sometimes you'll include a fee for that, sometimes you won't. It depends on the end customer and what you're looking to charge people. So I'm going to go ahead and just go back real quick and we'll look at this again. So as we saw, we can pay something, and here's one that's already been paid. I can no longer pay it. You'll notice that. And that's because, yes, I can click into this and say I want to pay it, but I also can select multiple and pay it directly from here. So I don't have to make separate transactions for each payment as by clicking into it, but I can pay one overall. Other types of information that we generally show on this page is past due. As part of that past due, we might also include aging, invoice aging. So you might also include, what the aging looks like, your 30, 60, 90 of what your past due balance is. So there are different options of what you'll want to display out through the portal, through this information. But it does allow people to come in, view the invoices, view details, and view payments. So as Gary was originally speaking about, we're trying to really cut down that call time. And if you can think about the number of calls a company gets for a prior invoice, what was the invoice for, was there a PO on the invoice, and if those things are in the ERP system, they will show through to here. So we're really trying to cut down on what people will be calling you for. They'll also know was a credit memo applied against it. Is it open? Is there a payment on it? Do I need to make a payment on it? So I can come in, I can view, what do you think my daily balance is compared to my aging, and all of those different pieces. So I can search for things, I can select them by different types. Again, we talked about the types of credit memos and whatnot. And I could look for the date ranges I'm looking for. So I, as a customer, have a lot of capability in coming in and reviewing my history. And as I touched on before we came here, you probably don't want to open this up to all employees within your company, but you don't have to. You can create those different levels of users, and with those different levels of users, you can give them access to maybe see current installations, create new orders, maybe view those orders or view documents in those different pieces, but not come over and view ledgers, not come over and do some of the other pieces in the account maintenance section. So let's look at what some of those other pieces would be. Another important part, depending on your level of user, will be user maintenance management. So I, as a user, now can manage my sub-users if you as a company have granted them those permissions. So I might have a company that sells or repairs pools. I might grant the first 5 people access to come in and view orders, work on orders, have orders, but I might keep for myself and the manager of my store the ability to view the financial information only. So I simply can come in, I can see the users that are within my organization, I can add additional users, I can modify the users within that organization. And we've talked about roles, and those roles are not predefined by default. We work with customers when we're installing the product to define the role and what permissions should go within any given role. And so you'll see here there are several different concepts of roles and what can be created within here. So another portion of the portal then. So we've talked about the ability to service items and requesting service. And again, that's very important for moving into the how does it integrate with the planning board and the mobile client, which we're going to cover in future webinars. And we've talked about the ability to actually view a lot of customer information and manage a customer. One of the things that we've touched on is this level of customers and the users. One of the things they talk about is the concept of creating, say, a corporate structure or the ability of users to manage more than one account. So as an example, you may have a corporate structure of, and I'm going to use 7-Eleven as an example. 7-Eleven franchised this out. So there might be 7-Eleven headquarters, and then within any given state, and we're going to just pick Rhode Island, there might be 3 franchisees within Rhode Island, and each franchisee might own 5 separate stores. Well, you might give a user from corporate the ability to see all 3 franchisees within Rhode Island. And then at each franchisee, you might give them the ability to see each of their 5 stores. But then at each store level, you might give a manager the ability to handle themselves or their sub-employees to only see the details for that store. So the benefit there is I can request maintenance on my Frosty machine from my store, but my manager, my regional manager or my franchisee, he can see that. And so can corporate if, say, they need to or if they're footing the bill. And so you have these different corporate structures, and this also can be handled through us. So I'm just bringing this up as an example. As you log in then, and you're looking at these different pieces, there'll be drop downs for you to select which customer or corporate entity you'd want to look at. And then you could also manage the users for yourself or each corporate entity underneath of that. Those corporation entities are created and managed within our system or can be built through data from the ERP system. So either one, and depending on the ERP system, some of them have better capabilities for linking those corporate entities than others. So that's why we enable it and have mechanisms for you to build those out through us or to pull the data from the ERP systems. Lastly, I want to focus on one part of the service portal that isn't normally focused on, but I think is actually a very important part of the service portal in trying to get customers to understand the benefits of what you're offering them. So as a customer trying to offer to my end customers the ability to come online and to request work or to see order status or view history, but I also might want to understand what you are offering. As an example, do you offer spare parts? So I am requesting work on, say, a stove, but maybe I don't need to request work. What if I just want to buy a part for the stove that I've purchased from you, or for a large piece of machinery that was custom built for me, but maybe it has interchangeable parts, part numbers, and I know the manual, so I want to come in. The service portal is built on an overall e-commerce platform, and what it does is it enables us to offer through the content management system for customers to create, and I say spare parts, but it doesn't have to just be spare parts. It could be end items, and those end items could be categorized and then listing spare parts under them. We see all kinds of uses in this sense. So it gives us the capability of coming in and creating categories. And you'll notice we have this category of spare parts. And the spare parts category enables us to come in and actually view parts that may go to items. So from within here, we could create subcategories. And we might sell different types of items. So we sell cars maybe, and maybe we sell washing machines, but maybe we sell different models. And again, the content management system enables you to create any type of category or category structure you want. So you could categorize it within a generic category of, say, lathe, and then underneath that lathe category, you could create 1/2 horsepower, 3/4 horsepower, 1 horsepower lathes, and underneath that, you might have parts for different motors for those lathes that would fit what you're servicing or selling in general. So you not only are able to become a service center for people and for people to come in and view and request service to have that technician to come out and do the work, but you also become the capability of offering parts or spare parts or end items. Again, it does not have to be a part or a spare part. That's just generally what we see within the service portal realm. So you can see here, I'm able to come in and actually view details of those things. So the other benefit of that is if you have an invoice that has these items on it, the user from that invoice, when he was viewing it, can click on the item, come over and actually see what was installed. So when you came out and you fixed the rollers on my packing machine, I was able to see that you replaced the ball bearings and you used a ball bearing pack and you used 15 of them. So I'm questioning maybe what that was. Maybe I don't understand why it went in. And I can easily come in here and then I say, okay, I can see the parts. I can see the price you're charging. The price you're charging retail very well might not be the price you charge through service. Normally what we see in these instances is the service price is either lower or it's contracted ahead of time. So most cases, what you're showing online would be a higher price if you are showing pricing online, again. So the premise here is people would see that benefit and they would be able to go through and see that. Like any e-commerce platform, there's different ways to show this type of data, and this just goes back to our template concepts and the view of different templates and how data can be shown. So you don't have to have in spare part listings lots of information or images. You simply could just have listing of products, again, even without images. So if you have a diagram, an exploded view diagram of something that you service, say an engine, and it has parts labeled in the diagram 1 through 12, you could add that diagram as part of this grouping, and then you could ID your parts with those numbers, and it would essentially be able to view a diagram and purchase their parts as part of it. Now it's on the customer to set this data up, and there's nothing that would generically pull this type of data unless they have it in the ERP system, but it's capable of doing that. We have customers that have done things just like that. So what we see this then is we see this as very common of being able to convey multiple pieces of information. It's able to convey to customers maybe value from a invoice to what maybe you charge directly. It's able to convey what they can purchase or some more detailed service-oriented information such as exploded view diagrams and the parts within them and what you have or have not. You can even display what you do or don't have in stock. And you may not display this because you might think it discourages service. And we see a lot of different opinions and views on these different types of issues. So we allow for it to be configured as part of the installation process of our software. So the service piece now is fully integrated from not just being able to accept view details on service orders, view details on planning and what gets entered and recorded on the mobile all the way back. It also includes being able to view the payment history, the invoice history for those service orders, or giving them even more detailed information for the parts used on the service orders, or allowing them to buy one or more service items or service. You could sell the products that are service items, but also the products that make up those service items, those subcomponents of them. So as a portal as a whole, you're giving those customers the capability to come in and really interact with your company without having to call for those details. I don't have to call to ask you what parts are in my product if I'm trying to understand what engine is in my lathe. Okay. So lastly, the portal enables you to create basic generic pages through the CMS page to convey information in any way you see fit. So as an example, a contact page. And this is a very generic, simple example. We have lots of customers who create informational pages for their end customers as part of their portal. You can think of it as almost like a frequently asked questions concept. We see that a lot. So as part of this portal, you might offer a frequently asked questions portion within generically created pages within that CMS system. And what that does is enables you to hopefully cut down on those questioned telephone calls. I'm calling about this. Well, it's a very common question, and it's actually answered on our website. Now, you'll still, of course, give the answer, but then in the future, hopefully your customer base will get used to referring to your ever-growing and more useful knowledge base as it's growing online. and you as a company manage that directly through our CMS system to create additional pages. Now, this menu structure that we've looked at across the top, and we see here, and the pieces are under it. Some pieces are driven from, some of the data is driven from the ERP system, and some of it's created here. The menu structure in those pieces generally is created within our CMS system, although it could be driven from the ERP. It depends on the customer's data. However, the product data, the ledger data, the customer data, just like all of our other products, is driven by that ERP system. So we're not looking for duplicate entry of information. For user setup, you can link that to, say, contacts or different pieces within the ERP system to be able to, get the basic information and set it up and assign to a company. So there's a lot of capabilities to get data from the ERP system or manage some types of data which don't necessarily always fall into different ERP systems externally here, and build out a good usage and repository for your customers. So again, what we're really trying to give them is the experience of being able to access this information all the time. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to push back to Gary, if we can look at the business benefits, and we'll review those, and we'll talk about the portal fitting within them. So what we really see is we see the improved customer experience. Because again, what we're allowing to do is we're allowing those customers to come online and enter information that goes to the staff. And the best part is it's the correct staff. So I'm not calling in getting a customer service a customer service representative who then has to communicate to a planner, who in turn has to communicate to a mobile technician, and they end up with a game of telephone. So instead of you coming and bringing me brown paint, I end up with off-white. So I am able to communicate easily with the staff that is important, that needs to know what I have to communicate. And that helps, again, when we talked on the other webinars, it helps with our first-time fix rates. It helps with the mobile users getting out and having the right information at their fingertips at the right time. And that's driven by the customers, and they feel like they can control that through this portal. Another key to that is they're able to access this information 24/7. So even when you're closed, as a company, I am capable of coming in and seeing if my payment posted yesterday. Did you get my payment? Did you get invoices from me? So, or I'm sorry, do you have invoices for me? Or did you credit what you said you would credit me in a credit memo? So getting information to that 24/7. A lot of customers run hours other than your companies for different reasons. So it's important that they're able to access those types of information. The other types of information, again, which are very important, are those compliance records. They may need those. They may need those when you're not open, but they need them maybe for an inspection because they're on the West Coast, you're on the East Coast, as an example. We're also trying to reduce your internal time usage by allowing customers to access that without having to call in. I'm not calling now to access, hopefully, that invoice information we just discussed and payment information. I'm not calling you now, hopefully, to access the frequently asked questions pages you've created in those different pieces. I'm not calling, hopefully, to ask you about when are you going to come? Who is going to come? When are they coming? So those types of information available directly through the portal. And with that information sharing from top to bottom, we're improving those fix rates, we're improving those, we're lowering the number of calls to service issues. All of this because you can get the request directly to your planners, plan down to your technicians, get that work back, and get it invoiced within the same day as long as they have signal for the mobile. What we have here is we have the ability to get invoicing quicker, increasing cash flow. And of course, the billing errors are less because people are entering the request online, they understand it, and they can view it all the way down back to the invoice and the details from the invoice. So based off of the bullets that we want to talk about today, that's how the portal and what we've discussed. Again, we're going to have some follow-on webinars about the portal for the administrative side. So from the company who owns the portal side, how their users can use the portal to also accomplish a lot of these same tasks, but also accomplish all of the planning tasks, the approvals tasks, and some basic fabrication and manufacturing tasks that go along with a lot of these types of different orders. All right, so with that, I'll turn it back over to Gary.
Great, thank you, Michael. So I just see one question here from today, which is a NAV-related question. So the question is, how are payments managed inside of NAV? Where do I see them and how do I convert them?
So payments are managed within NAV. They come in as part of a sales order. You should be able to see them as part of the conversion of the sales order. And you should, when they convert, they are supposed to be creating a payment entry. So that is the expectation against the identified invoices. So if you have a standard portal installed, that is the expectation of how it should look and work.
Okay, so the following question for that is, this is related to paying an order for an invoice that already exists.
Correct. Yep. And so that still rests the same. The system should not create a new order for it. It should apply against the order or orders that were selected originally for that payment. But it should be within the same interface as incoming orders, if there were any.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Mike, for that explanation. So that really concludes our webinar for today. Here's our contact information for myself, Gary, and also for Luke, in case you have any sales-related questions, specific to a prospect or existing customer that you have right now that would be interested in the service portal. So the recordings for this will also be made online and will be emailed to you as well. And you'll also receive information about our next upcoming series, which we're going to announce in the coming week, and it's going to start at the beginning of next month. So that concludes our webinar for today. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and have a great day.